I came from a very religious Christian family. My background is West Indian. My parents migrated to Canada about 35 years ago. So really, Canada is really all we really know of, culture-wise. My mother's background and heritage was actually Muslim, but in coming to Canada, she converted to Christianity. So that being the case, she became very strong in her faith and really taught us the value of God. And this was very important to me growing up because I always had this recognition of God. I didn't have this concept of, the Trinity or anything of that sort, but God was very important to me. So about the time, I was in kindergarten up to the time before puberty, I was fairly cognizant of God. And what happened is that, as any youth grows up, we get involved in the culture. We get involved in some of the vices of society. In my case, it was the hip-hop culture. Now, up to this time, I never forgot my prayer. This is something I was taught consistently throughout my life. But coming to the time as a teenager, those prayers became somewhat vain. They became somewhat, God, give me a good girlfriend. God, give me a good car. Things which are very trivial, right? Very material. And I was at a material high, but at a very spiritual low. And, you begin to think about life, where you come from, why are you here? And it just came to me, it just came to me. And unfortunately, being distracted by, being a DJ, coming from a very disciplined family, very traditional in the sense of go to school, get a job, get a house with a white picket fence. I mean, this was a concept, right? So I was trying to battling the two different worlds, my spiritual world and also the outward. And this is what compelled me to, really think about, my purpose my purpose, why am I alive? Why am I, doing what I'm doing? At about 16 years old, I met this girl, and she was Muslim. Now, she wasn't very practicing Muslim, but she was the one who kind of sparked my, I guess you could say, spiritual enlightenment, and started my search into what, I guess, it concluded with me becoming a Muslim. And, learning about Islam was somewhat difficult for me. I had a lot of misconceptions about it. So much so that, going to a fairly, Anglo-Saxon, Western European school, there weren't very many Muslims. It was very not an ethnic population. And, I used to kind of mock the Muslim sisters for wearing, the hijab. And I had a very vague concept of it. I thought it was oppression more than, integrity and modesty. And so, like I said, I was more interested in my material life rather than my spiritual life. But this girl, she kind of focused my direction towards Islam. And one day, this was when I was about 16 years old, I was shopping for a Christmas gift for my family. It was a very busy day. And this day was very important for me because this is the day when I think God really opened up my heart. I was shopping for a T-shirt. I walked outside the mall. And not knowing, I actually had that T-shirt in my hand. I didn't pay for it. And, being very, I was terrified because I'm like, what did I just do? I walked back to the mall. And I'm like, and at this time, there were bodyguards chasing me. Security guards chasing me. I'm just walking aimlessly, not knowing what I was doing. And I turned around and they grabbed me by the arm, took me upstairs, and said, you're charged for theft under $5,000. Irrespective of the fact that, I was walking back, it was a mistake, but, it was a stupid mistake. So, I come from a very, loving family. So them being called on the phone saying, your son is being charged for theft was devastating for them. And for me as well. And it was an embarrassment. And on top of that, my parents were actually on vacation during this time. So hearing this, getting a call, from a police officer, your son's in custody, it was devastating, And coming home on the subway, I thought to myself, what am I doing? This is terrible. Where am I going to turn to? And this is when I thought about, I was invited to the mosque once. Maybe I should go. because maybe they had the answers which I'm seeking. And it was more of a, I needed someone to talk to. I needed companionship, real companionship, not, fake companionship. So this is when I went to the mosque. And really, going to the mosque, the brotherhood, the earnesty, the modesty of the brothers, it compelled me to learn more about the religion.